Aloha, everyone. I hope you are all doing absolutely incredible today. I am in San Jose. I'm in Northern California. Haven't been here for a while. I think the last time I was here to teach a prac training was before COVID. I think it was actually before COVID was the last time that we came here. Everything shut down during that year of COVID, as many of you know. Many of you absolutely aware of that. And when things did begin to reopen, this county didn't reopen as quickly. So we haven't been here for a while. And so nice to be back. Got back late last night and so happy to be here. Looking forward to meeting the group. Apparently the team was here at the last training and at this hotel. I've never been here before. Beautiful location and just so looking forward to the prac training tomorrow. San Jose is always an awesome, awesome group. And a lot of prosperity consciousness up here, a lot. All right, how you doing? So good to see you. Hope you guys are absolutely going to be, ready. Those of you who are coming to the live event that starts tomorrow, hope you guys are ready for it. Lots of personal growth and transformation. And those of you who have been students of mine for a while, remember what it was like when you did your prac training? Well, the group is going to get to experience that tomorrow. Hey, Nikki, how's it going? Thank you for being on here. Appreciate it. Darren, good to see you. So I want to jump in. I want to talk about this, and it's a pretty deep concept. It's a concept that Carl Jung came up with, although some of the ancient cultures also did talk about this. Some of them actually did bring it up and discuss it, and it's called the shadow. Now, if you've been watching the Facebook Lives, which I hope you have, if you haven't, this is the third part of a three-parter. So it's kind of like jumping into, The Godfather 3 and wondering who's this character and why do they keep referencing things that I've never seen. You hopefully you've seen the other two parts. The part 1, which was about the ego, and part 2, which was about the persona. So the ego is who you are. Again, like what I said, egotistical is a different concept than the ego. The goal is to have a healthy ego. Have an ego that is in alignment with who you truly are. And the goal is to have healthy personas. Like I'm going to be putting a persona out there on stage tomorrow. I'm going to be getting up and saying, hey everyone, I'm Dr. Matt, and here's my background. I'm going to be wearing my Aloha shirt, wearing a team shirt right now. And all of these things, those are personas, but do they flow from who you truly are? Okay, we covered those last week and the week before. So what's the shadow? First of all, so many people complicate the idea of the shadow, and they complicate the concepts related to it, and it really isn't that complicated. In order for you to know who you are, you also need to know who you're not. So if you look at the law of creation, so lots of laws. At Huna we teach, I think it's about 52 laws. The law of creation says that anything that exists has to have a dichotomy, a duality, day and night, hot and cold. You can't have day without night. You can't have light without dark. I'm not talking about good and evil. I'm just talking about just light and dark. Lights on, lights off. That's it. So the world that we live in is a world of dualities, dichotomies. Carl Jung recognized that. Carl Jung recognized it because he was more spiritual than he was psychological. That came out in his books after he had passed away, that his family was ordered to release at a certain point. It definitely showed that he was much more on the spiritual side of things than he was on the psychological side of things. So he used the term the shadow because kind of like our physical body, when a light is shining, like let's say there was a light behind me, which there is, I can look down at the ground right there and I can see my shadow. So the shadow is not me, but it's created because of me. So it's not me, it's not my ego, my persona. It's created though because of me. So when a person stands in their light, it casts a shadow. Now, I remember when my daughter Skylar first saw her shadow, it actually freaked her out a little bit. When you see your shadow for the first time as a kid, it can sometimes startle you because it's like it's attached to you, it's touching you, but you don't know what it is and it's dark. As adults though, we don't even see our shadows most of the time. Yeah, if you're walking through a parking lot and it's high, it's like the shadows, the sun's at a really good angle and your shadow looks really big, you might recognize it, you might notice it. But for the most part, people go throughout their day not noticing the shadow. These ideas are precisely why Jung picked the term the shadow. So here's a basic concept. For you to know who you are, you also have to know who you're not. So if you think that you're a good person, if you're like, I'm a good person, in order for you to know what a good person is, you have to know what a bad person is not. That information is stored in your shadow. That information is stored in your shadow. And your shadow is in your unconscious mind. So it's you. It is your unconscious mind. And it's you really knowing this is who I'm not. So if who you are is an individual, like let's say you are a teacher and you're someone who thinks they're a good person and they're a good father, well, all the things that are the opposite of that are stored in the shadow. And the shadow keeps track of all that information. Now, another concept that we have to talk about is the idea of perception is projection. Perception is projection is that everything you see outside of you is a reflection of something going on inside of you. It's a big one for some people, but it's directly related to the shadow. Carl Jung referred to it as perception is projection. Perception is projection, meaning that the world outside of you, an easier way of looking at it is interpreting, that you're interpreting everything outside of you through your filters. Well, why is it that we only see certain things? For example, tomorrow I'm going to show the new practitioners a video that demonstrates that we only pick up a small amount of information. According to Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in the book Flow, we only pick up 126 out of 2 million bits of information. These 2 million bits of information that hit our nervous system every second, we only get 126. Well, which ones do we get? A lot of what we pick up, the 126 bits, is actually based on the shadow. So the shadow is neither good nor bad. It just is. A lot of books that don't fully, like the author doesn't fully understand the shadow, they talk about it from a negative side. Like if you see something negative in the world, then you're meant to do something about it. You're meant to let go of your negative emotions around it and learn how to resolve any limiting beliefs that you have so that you're no longer seeing it as bad or it no longer shows up in your life. I've met people who have visited other countries, other cities, and come back and say, what a horrible city, how impoverished they are and how terrible it is. And then you have people like Mother Teresa that spend her entire life in Calcutta, and I heard her say things like, it's beautiful there and amazing people, and she was there to help and make a difference, but she never saw it as bad. Well, a person who sees it as bad, they have something to resolve inside, because I can find someone else who sees it and says, it's beautiful, it's life. You see someone that thinks something is beautiful and another person thinks that it's ugly, someone thinks it's good. Why is that? This is a deeper issue, and it does actually, for some people, bring up a lot of conflict for them because they look outside and they say, that's not me. That is not me. The thing from a just pure shadow, from a pure Jungian perspective, the thing that you claim is not you is actually you the most. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't experience it. You wouldn't experience it the way you're experiencing it. It would be a like deletion for you. You wouldn't see any of those things. So facing the shadow takes courage. Now that's the negative aspect of the shadow. By negative, I mean you see things in your environment that you need to get lessons for. If something keeps bothering you over and over again, this is something that you need to learn from. There's something that I used to say a lot, and I've begun to say it again, and that is that the person who irritates you the most on this path is probably here to give you some of the biggest lessons. And take that into account. That's true with events, with individuals. Well, the shadow is also positive, though. So there's only one shadow, but the shadow is also positive. I want to end kind of on a positive note here, too. I meet so many people that sit there and they go, that's so beautiful out there. That individual is so amazing. I could never be that great. Well, you wouldn't see it if it's inside you. So that's positive. So the things that you see outside of you that are amazing and beautiful that you haven't embodied yet, part of the shadow's goal is to help you embody them. The shadow is the balancer of you. If there's you and there's not you, the shadow balances that and shows you the things you need to work on from a negative and shows you the things that you need to embrace and embody that are the positive. And the shadow is you. The shadow is literally you showing you the world outside of you, telling you these are things that you need to learn inside. I think that's the biggest lesson of the shadow. The biggest lesson of the shadow is if you don't like something that's outside of you, you got to look within. And if you see something amazing that's outside of you, you got to look within in order to learn how to incorporate it. Because that's all the shadow is doing. Think about it. The shadow is you wanting you to feel balanced, wanting you to feel harmonized in your life. So what I want you to do is over the next week, really take a look at what are the things outside in the world that bother the hell out of you? And what do you need to do inside to resolve that? Is it forgiveness? Is it release work? What are some of the things that you see outside in the world that are amazing that you wish was you? Well, find them inside of you. Realize that they are you and realize that you can bring that into your life. Okay? All right, I went a little bit longer than I normally do, but the shadow requires that. So I hope this was fun information and look forward to seeing you all next week. Aloha, ahui ho.